He wasn't the chosen son. He wasn't born under ideal circumstances, but he was never overlooked by God. His life began with rejection, born of a decision made in human impatience, not divine timing, raised in tension, cast out in sorrow, yet seen, heard, and blessed by the God of heaven. In the vast silence of the ancient Middle East, a region where destiny often rose from dust and wilderness, a boy was born. His name was Ishmael, a name that means God hears. This is not just a story of one boy's hardship. It's a divine reminder that even when the world casts you aside, God still writes your name into history. Because this is not just a story of rejection, it is a story of divine compassion, of unexpected destiny, of survival, strength, and a God who sees even the forgotten. So many of us have felt like Ishmael, pushed away, misunderstood, trying to find our place. But Ishmael's life reveals a truth too powerful to ignore. God sees the outcast. God hears the overlooked. God blesses the wilderness wanderer. Join us as we journey through sand and scripture, as we uncover the life of Ishmael, the son of the desert, the voice in the silence, and the legacy of a God who never turns his face away. This is the story of Ishmael, the God who sees me. The story begins around 2000 BCE in the region of Canaan, between Egypt and Mesopotamia. God had called a man named Abram out of Ur of the Chaldeans, promising to make him a great nation, Genesis 12. But there was a problem. His wife, Sarai, was barren. Decades passed. The promise of a child remained unfulfilled, and in their desperation, they made a decision that would change history. Sarai said to Abram, Genesis 16:2, "The Lord has kept me from having children. Go, sleep with my slave. Perhaps I can build a family through her." This was Hagar, young, Egyptian, and enslaved, possibly acquired during their stay in Egypt during a famine. She didn't ask for this. She didn't plan this path. But soon she is pregnant. Hagar bore a child, and that child was named Ishmael. Before we go further, let's pause for a moment and step back into the world 4,000 years ago, during the time of Abraham and Ishmael. This was the Middle Bronze Age, a time of nomadic tribes, herdsmen, and desert travel. There were no cities with comforts, only tents, wells, flocks, and long, lonely stretches of wilderness. Families lived in movable tents made of animal skins. Men were herdsmen, moving from place to place in search of water and pasture. Women ground grain, raised children, managed households, often under heavy burdens. Slavery was common. Servants like Hagar had little control over their own lives. Their worth was often measured by what they could produce, especially sons. Children, especially boys, were a family's future, heirs of land, legacy, and name. So when Hagar became pregnant with Ishmael, it wasn't just personal. It was a shift in family dynamics, inheritance rights, and emotions. Soon jealousy and strife grew between Sarah and Hagar. Pregnant and mistreated, Hagar fled into the desert, alone, vulnerable, desperate. And there, God met her. Genesis 16:11-12. "You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard of your misery. He will be a wild donkey of a man. His hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand against him. And he will live in hostility toward all his brothers." This prophecy, while sounding harsh, foretold Ishmael's independent, strong-willed descendants who would thrive in the harsh wilderness of Arabia. But most importantly, Hagar encountered El Roi, the God who sees me. Genesis 16:13. "I have now seen the one who sees me." Ishmael grew up under Abraham's care for 13 years. He was Abraham's only son during that time, cherished and circumcised into the family covenant. Genesis 17:25. For 13 years he was the only son, heir to the promise, the apple of his father's eye. He learned to pray, to herd, to walk in the shadow of a man of God. But then came a miracle. Sarah, now 90, gave birth to Isaac, the promised son. Suddenly Ishmael was no longer the center. He became the other son. And the tension rose again. In a culture where birth order determined destiny, Ishmael's very existence became a threat in the eyes of Sarah. Sarah saw Ishmael mocking at a celebration and demanded he be sent away. Abraham was distressed, but God said, Genesis 21:12-13, "Listen to whatever Sarah tells you. I will make the son of the slave into a nation also, because he is your offspring." Being cast out wasn't just sad, it was life-threatening. The desert of Beersheba wasn't a place you survived easily. No GPS, no cities, no bottled water, just sand, heat, and the mercy of God. And it's in that harsh, dry world that God shows up, not just for kings or prophets, but for a weeping woman and her fainting child. It reminds us, even when we are surrounded by cultural systems that devalue us, even when others walk away, God still steps in. Hagar and Ishmael were cast out again, this time into the wilderness of Beersheba. The water ran out. Hagar placed her teenage son under a bush and walked away, saying, "I cannot watch the boy die." Genesis 21:16. But God heard. Genesis 21:17. God heard the boy crying and said, "Do not be afraid. I will make him into a great nation." God opened Hagar's eyes, and she saw a well. Here we see a deeper truth. When the world closes doors, God opens wells. When people abandon, God affirms. Ishmael didn't die in the desert. He grew up to become an archer, a desert survivor, a leader. Genesis 21:20. God was with the boy as he grew up. He settled in Paran, east of Egypt. His mother took a wife for him from Egypt, his maternal heritage. Historically, Ishmael's 12 sons, Genesis 25, became tribal leaders of various Arab tribes across the northern Arabian Peninsula, areas we now associate with Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, and parts of Syria. Among his descendants, over centuries, would rise powerful peoples, cultures, and even claims of lineage to the Prophet Muhammad, though that comes from later Islamic tradition, not the Bible. Ishmael's story doesn't end with exile. It ends with God's continued presence. He wasn't forgotten. He wasn't a mistake. He was part of God's sovereign plan. Though Isaac was the son of covenant, Ishmael was the son of compassion. God does not operate on human rejection. He operates on divine redemption. Maybe you felt like Ishmael, uninvited into the spotlight, born into a situation you didn't choose, forgotten by people who should have protected you. But here's the truth. God hears your cry. God sees your pain. God is writing your story. Even if others walk away, El Roi never does. You are not alone. You are not abandoned. You are seen. You are heard. You are loved. Psalm 27:10. Though my father and mother forsake me, the Lord will receive me. Ishmael was never invisible, and neither are you. If this story blessed you, consider liking this video and sharing it with someone who needs hope. Subscribe for more biblical stories, insights, and spiritual encouragement. Remember, you are never forgotten. You are seen. You are heard. You are loved by God.